Good Saturday, everyone. Welcome to the show. Listen, I'm glad to have you guys here. I think gold and silver have languished for a long time. And, it's been tiresome. If you're a gold and silver, if you hold real physical metals, it's tiresome. You're getting tired after all this time, seeing the price being smashed down. Gold and silver are getting ready to take off. And I'm going to explain to you guys why. Let's take a look now at what's going on with the Fed. Let's start the charts right here, and let's take a look at what's going on with the Fed. Let me close in the charts a little bit so we can see. It says it's no longer a question of if the Fed will cut rates, but when. It says, President spoke with Fed chairman amid public campaign for lower rates. If Fed wants to inject positive surprise, June interest rate cut might be June. We're in June right now. Today's June 8th. Fed wants to inject a positive surprise, a June interest rate cut. Wall Street is clamoring for rate cuts. Markets are betting on a Fed interest rate cut. Well, I'm going to tell you what. The Fed now is not in control of this machine anymore. They've lost control over it. The Fed actually has to cut interest rates. It's not because President Trump is telling them to cut interest rates or anything like that. The Fed has to cut interest rates. They're dealing with a situation in the bond market that's erupted. If we go over here and we take a look at the U.S. 10-year Treasury, we can start to see these problems. Now, just look at this drop-off in price in the U.S. 10-year Treasury. It's barely above 2% right now. An awful lot of debt is priced on the U.S. 10-year Treasury. A tremendous amount of debt is priced on the 3-month LIBOR. Now, if we close in on this 3-month LIBOR chart, I believe I can pull this chart into what I want to really look at, which is what's happening recently. Let's pull it in even a little bit tighter. Right here, this is what I want to show you guys that's happening with the LIBOR. Ever since December 21st, 2018, when the LIBOR peaked at 2.82%, look at this. Look at it. It's falling off a cliff. And look at this tail end right here. Just falling off a cliff right here. Now, do you know how much debt is priced in the LIBOR? And how much debt is priced in the U.S. 10-year? Okay, the LIBOR is still at, right now, at 2.5%, the LIBOR. But look how quickly it's dropping. Each month, it's dropping significantly. And this trend is probably going to continue. We have to go back and take a look at the U.S. 10-year, and look how it's dropping, down to 2.08%. Now, what we're going to take a look at is the effective federal funds rate right now on this chart. And what we see is the effective federal funds rate. If we take a look at the end right here on the chart, this part right here, you can see the rate hikes by the Fed. 25 basis points, another 25 basis points, another 25 basis points, another 25 basis, another 25, another 25, another 25, and now they've got it up to where it is right now, right? And they've stopped. Basically, we're looking at 2.39% U.S. federal funds rate, the effective federal funds rate, okay? That's where we are at right now with the effective federal funds rate. Now, here's where the problem comes in, and this is why the Fed has to actually lower rates. This overnight rate, this effective federal funds rate, they cannot let it be higher than the U.S. 10-year. And it is. Look, the U.S. 10-year is at 2.08%, and the effective federal funds rate right now is at 2.39%. So what's happening here is debt is based off of the 10-year. Debt is based off of the LIBOR. Trillions of dollars worth of debt is based off of these instruments. And these instruments are paying less than the overnight rate, than the effective federal funds rate. this is called a negative carry. What happens in a situation like this, and this situation has just come into effect recently within the markets, what actually happens in a situation like this is the debt markets start to seize up. Money doesn't flow like it's supposed to flow because of this negative carry. They cannot let this continue, especially on the 10-year. So they have to drop interest rates. They don't have a choice in the matter. They have to keep their interest rate on the overnight rate lower than what the U.S. 10-year pays and lower than what the 3-month LIBOR pays. And they're getting really close right now on the LIBOR. If the LIBOR keeps dropping, right here is the mark. Right here at roughly 2.40% is the mark, and we see the LIBOR dropping down to that mark. If the LIBOR drops lower than the U.S. effective federal funds rate, then we got a huge problem. We got trillions of dollars of debt. A system's going to start to actually lock up. So they're trying to stay ahead of it a little bit. They see the LIBOR dropping fast. They know that they got to get that effective federal funds rate down fast to get it down lower. That's what they have to do. They have to drop rates because the LIBOR's dropping. They have to drop their rate too. And so what we're looking at also is why they were raising the rate in the first place. You know, let's take a look now at another chart, and this chart is Consumer Price Index, which is the line in blue. Just a sec, let me pull the chart down so you can see it a little bit better, you know, and we're going to pull it out to the end here. What we're looking at here is the line in blue, which is the Consumer Price Index, and we're looking at the effective federal funds rate. And what you notice here is, generally speaking, the effective federal funds rate stays above the Consumer Price Index. But what we've seen here ever since 2008, they dropped interest rates down in 2008 all the way down to zero, and we see we're way below the Consumer Price Index, and we can see that they were getting it up. They were getting it up to where it was matching almost matching the Consumer Price Index. Here's the thing. They really need to raise interest rates. And this is why they were trying to raise interest rates 25 basis points. Also, they need to get up to what's called a normalized interest rate. And why they need that is it's an effective tool to fight the next recession, which is coming. But this shows how the Federal Reserve actually is not in control anymore. The fact that they're going to have to lower rates shows that they are not in control anymore. They've lost control of this machine, basically, at this point, because they need to raise interest rates right now to stave off this next recession that's going to threaten to actually turn into a depression. Now, I've been saying the depression word. They do not like to hear that word. They like to say recession, recession, recession. But this time, the financial carnage that's going to ensue and the power of this event because of the amount of... Look, 10 years! They spent 10 years with 0% interest rates policy. And they've blown up bubbles like the world's never seen before. We are right now in uncharted territory with all of this. A recession? I think not. I think it's going to rapidly turn into a depression, and they're going to have to bring out the big guns. Because they've lost control over it, they're going to have to bring out the big guns to fight it. I call this the Great Print. This is what's coming. They're going to monetize the system. They're going to forget about how high the debt is. They're just going to pump it up higher. Whatever it takes attitude is going to start to become more prevalent. Now, you know, in times of peril, people get to the point where they don't care what it costs. They just want to stop the problem that is being generated. And the problem this time that's being generated is a financial catastrophe that needs to be stopped. And there's only one way to stop it. So the people will basically allow this to happen. They will allow the banks to be bailed out, because what is the alternative? So when the Federal Reserve offers to bail the banks out, rather than see the alternative actually happen, which is the banks collapse and the whole economy collapse and credit freeze up and the world turn into something that's not nice, in other words, a very serious depression, they'll try to mitigate the damage using the only tool they have available to them, which is to lower interest rates down below zero this time. This time they're going to actually have to go below zero for the first time ever, because we are in uncharted territory. And at the same time, how do you maintain an interest rate below zero? How, when interest rates get down so low, how do banks actually make money lending money out? How does that work? You know? The whole system is starting to turn upside down because they're losing control over it. And to gain control back, it's going to take some radical maneuvers but you know, people underestimated during the last financial crisis the maneuvers that the Fed actually made and the things that they actually did. People underestimated what they're willing to do. And that's exactly what we're doing this time. We're underestimating what they're willing to do to keep this system running. The crazy ideas they might come up with, like perhaps even trying to control the entire yield curve all the way out to the 30-year. Helicopter money. Don't think they'll do it? Well, Ben Bernanke said they would when he was chairman of the Fed. That was a while ago, you know, but that's how he got the name Helicopter Ben. He said if we have to, we will quite literally fly over in helicopters and dump money out the window. Well, that would do it all right. You know, just a fleet of government helicopters with bundled $100 bills, bundled with elastic bands, and the whole back end of the helicopter full of big Hueys from big helicopters from Vietnam or whatever, you know, full of $100 bills, fill up a whole fleet of them, 50 of them, and fly over every city and dump $100 bills out. Yeah, we'll have instantaneous hyperinflation. I mean, but what will they think of next? What policy? Well, one of the things that they're rolling out is a guaranteed income for all. You know, and to help stimulate the economy. And tax rebates, you haven't seen nothing compared to what they can do with tax rebates. They've got your Social Security number. They know how much taxes you've paid your entire lifetime. They could refund it all. I mean, if you're in the money printing business, go big or go home. Listen, thank you guys for listening. Like and subscribe, and we will catch you guys Monday morning with a nice fresh market report. Thanks for listening. I really appreciate my audience out there. Give me a thumbs up. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.